Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to Mark Alford's Capital Recap, coming to you with the latest from our nation's capital in Washington, D.C., and from Missouri's 4th Congressional District. It's a big district, as you may know. We have 24 counties. I have driven over 1,000 miles in the 2-week in-district work period that we've had this last couple of weeks. Visited 13 different counties. We'll get to our in-district work week in just a bit. But first, I want to talk a little bit about Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the man from Maryland who President Trump has deported because he's a known terrorist, a member of MS-13, involved in human trafficking. Let's get this straight. He is an illegal alien. He is a member of MS-13. You've seen that from the tattoos on his knuckles. This is a Salvadorian gang that has been declared a foreign terrorist organization. And the evidence clearly shows that Kilmar Abrego Garcia has repeatedly been identified as a member of MS-13, not just by our federal government, but also a Maryland County Police gang unit, a reliable, confidential informant, ICE officers. An immigration judge agreed with that. An appellate board agreed with that. He was ordered to be deported. But here's the deal. The progressive left continues to try to victimize this illegal alien gang member they call the Maryland man or the Maryland father. He's a terrorist, folks. It is disgusting that the Democrats like Senator Van Hollen and Representatives Maxwell Frost and Robert Garcia are using your taxpayer dollars to fly down to El Salvador to defend this illegal alien, a gangbanger, a wife beater, over standing up for the safety of you, American citizens. They keep saying that this isn't fair. It's not due process. Well, folks, it is. The evidence of due process is public. Kilmar Garcia had 3 immigration hearings, one of which established an MS-13 affiliation. The other upheld that. The third denied his asylum and CAT claims and subjected him to deportation. So, really at this point, the lying is willful on the parts of the Democrats. Back in 2022, Kilmar Abrego Garcia was detained in Tennessee on suspicion of human trafficking. The Tennessee Highway Patrol was instructed to release him and the 7 other people in the car by Biden's FBI. Garcia was taking them from Texas to Maryland. So how is that okay? How are leftists defending someone who is capable of heinous crimes like that? The exaggerations, they're just bizarre at this point. The truth is that President Trump did not defy any Supreme Court ruling, and it's that simple. Well, switching gears now, let's get into what we've got mapped out for when we get back to Congress on Monday. We have some big plans that are going to propel the American First agenda forward, so let's get to them. We are going to have a reconciliation package, which we've been talking about the last few weeks, on the floor of the House by the week of May 19th. That's coming up very soon. We don't have a lot of time. That is before Memorial Day. It's going to be called the Renewing the American Dream Act. I know President Trump wanted to call it the One Big Beautiful Bill, but I think it's going to be called the Renewing the American Dream Act. And before we get it to the floor, the authorizing committees are going to be marking up their portions of the bill. They will start on Monday. So, coming up this next week, Leader Scalise has the 5 Congressional Review Act resolutions on the docket. Several of those bills are going to be targeting the states of California's poor decisions to try to micromanage the vehicles that everyday Americans use with the so-called green mandates, part of the Green New scam. So we'll be working to pass HJ Resolution 87 that stops California's efforts to force truck manufacturers to sell zero-emission trucks. We're also going to have a resolution that overturns the EPA's waiver that permits California to ban the sale of gas-powered cars by 2025. And we'll also go after the EPA's decision to allow the Golden State to tighten nitrogen oxide engine emission standards. After that, during the first full week of May, House Republicans, we're going to consider the White House's rescission package. You probably heard that term used a little bit lately in the news. Basically, we are clawing back $9.3 billion in spending. We are cutting that out, bringing it back out of the budget to save money for you, the American taxpayers. What it's going to do is really going to allow us to begin codifying the cuts that DOJ is making, okay? A lot of people had complained that DOJ didn't have the authority. They did have the authority to identify these cuts. We are making them real in Congress. We are doing what you ask us to do, our job to make this real and permanently cut this money. As you know, back in January, President Trump signed an executive order, speaking of executive orders, for the Gulf of Mexico to be renamed the Gulf of America. Well, at the same time, my colleague Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia introduced the Gulf of America bill. As Americans, we've been footing the bill to protect and secure the maritime waterways, the Gulf, for commerce, for shipping, basically, to go through. Our U.S. Armed Services protect that area. Our Coast Guard does. And further out at sea, our Navy, from any military threats from foreign countries. Since it's our Gulf, it's only right that the rest of the world refer to it as the Gulf of America. A lot of changes have already been made on Google Maps, I believe, has Gulf of America now. You've seen the poster that the president has on an easel behind the Resolute desk there in the Oval Office. A lot of people now, even without us technically doing it in Congress, are already referring to it as the Gulf of America. You know, President Trump and all the Republican lawmakers were given a mandate by you. You gave them the mandate, the American people did, to put America first. So that is exactly what we're doing. This day one legislation, it's got to pass, and we'll get it done in May. We got to make it permanent, so we're going to get it done very soon. Along with codifying Trump's executive orders, we also plan on continuing to honor and protect those who protect us each and every day. The week of May 12th is National Police Week, so it only makes sense that the House is going to be aligning our legislation on the floor with the bills that benefit the men and women who serve us each and every day, put their lives on the line, basically. We've got a bill from Congressman Tim Moore that's going to require the Attorney General to collect and make public data about attacks on police officers so we can know exactly how bad the problem is nationwide. And then Representative Don Bacon, he's got a bill. It's H.R. 2243, and it's going to be coming to the floor during Police Week. It will allow law enforcement officers to extend their concealed carry license if they continue to serve their communities. So the license they get as a police officer, they can carry that over and concealed carry in other capacities, where they're guards at churches, schools, perhaps, other places where they will need to help our communities. We're also going to have one from my friend Russell Fry. He's got a bill that's going to let federal law enforcement officers buy their service weapons at market value. So we're going to do everything we can to make sure that those who answer the call each day to protect our communities are taken care of. Stay tuned, because during Police Week, we'll be honoring fallen officers from Missouri. You're listening to Mark Alford's Capital Recap. When we come back, we'll dive into some big plans for the Small Business Committee and our busy in-district work period. There was a moment that you will want to hear about. You've heard a lot about the protests that have been happening around Kansas City, all over America. People want us to have these crazy town hall meetings where they can yell and shout at us. We actually sat down and talked to one protester, and we'll talk about that conversation and why it was so relevant. Don't go away. You're listening to Mark Alford's Capital Recap. Welcome back to Mark Alford's Capital Recap, a behind-the-scenes dive into everything that's going on in Washington and in Missouri's 4th Congressional District. We just talked about some of the things that we're planning to do in Washington and some bills that we intend to pass this coming week. We also have the reconciliation package, the rescission package. We've talked about all that. I want to dive into now about some huge news from the Small Business Committee that's going to happen this next week. As you know, we're proud to serve as the chairman of the Oversight, Investigations, and Regulations Subcommittee. Next week, the full committee is going to be voting on my returning the SBA to Main Street Act, a bill that I've created called Returning the SBA to Main Street. I introduced this bill with Senator Joni Ernst from Iowa. That's the companion bill over in the Senate side. So basically, this law, when it becomes law, will decentralize the Small Business Administration, break it up, get it out of the swamp of Washington, and relocate about 30% of the Small Business Administration in the D.C. headquarters across the country to be closer to you, the American people. You may have heard this story before. When I first got to Washington, D.C. a couple of years ago, I wanted to go visit the Small Business Administration. They would not let us in the door. A sitting member of Congress, we had to introduce the Congressional Access to Bureaucratic Offices Bill, CABO, to basically force their hand to let us inside the building. And now, once we visited there, we knew why they didn't want us in there. They've got about 500,000 square feet of office space, and it's only about 4% occupied. About 8 or 9 floors, and they were only using 2 of them. If you're not coming to work, we're going to get you out of D.C. and go to the heartland, places like the 4th Congressional District of Missouri. This is really a key part of our work, to drain the swamp, to ignite a new golden age for the backbone of our economy, which is our small businesses, all 33 million of them in America. So stay tuned for next week's episode. We're going to bring you exclusive content from the committee markup. Now let's talk about some of the work that we've been doing in our district. We've had our in-district work period for about 2 weeks now. We've traveled some 1,000 miles and covered over 13 counties in our district. We've heard a lot. We've gone to different communities, different counties, visited with small business owners. We wanted to know, what can we do on the federal level to help you? It was really good to talk about all that, some of your thoughts and ideas. We did host 3 public events. We advertised these well in advance, and these events were in St. Robert, Wheatland, and Nelson, Missouri. We heard a lot, and that's what we're trying to do all over the district right now. We also visited some very incredible, hardworking businesses. We visited Citizens Memorial Hospital and met with some of the leadership there. They are building a brand new hospital there in that county. And so we got to tour the facility. We learned more about the new remodels that they're doing on the other parts of their facility and the dialysis system that's going to be serving the community there in Bolivar. We also got to meet with several commissioner groups, and one of those was the Dallas County Commissioners. We talked with Roger Bradley, Kirby Vest, and John Crawford to go over some new projects there. That's the one that I was telling you about, of the gas line that they want to have brought down, shoot from the gas line so they can have natural gas in their county, and we'll be working on that. We had another incredible stop in Missouri's 4th at Fort Leonard Wood in Pulaski County. We checked out a shooting range 9. It's a project that needed a lot of money, about $6 million, to make sure that we had the best training available for the men and women who are there training in basic training at Fort Leonard Wood. And we get about 80,000 trainees a year there at Fort Leonard Wood. This range 9 I saw a couple of years ago. It was just very dilapidated. And the more recruits that we get now, because recruitment numbers are up, we need this range to be open. So we were successful in getting the Secretary of the Army there last year to check it out, and we identified the money to make that happen. So we went back and checked in on that. We were so proud to be part of this project, and we're going to keep updating you on this amazing addition to Fort Leonard Wood, as well as other projects coming to Fort Leonard Wood, which is such a vital part of our Department of Defense. We also went to Marshfield and visited the folks there in Webster County at Tyler Coupling. They make couplings for pipes that go into commercial buildings. Back in 22, they really grew their business and moved from California all the way to Southwest Missouri. They make standard duty couplings and these heavy duty couplings that go on cast iron pipes. You never see them because they're in the walls of hotels and high-rise buildings, but they're definitely needed. And the problem is that the Chinese are coming in now and they're making cheap knockoffs. And we need to make sure that is not going to happen, that companies like Tyler Coupling are going to be protected. We met with the company's leadership and also community leaders, and they shared their vision with us about how they still want to grow. We got to go through the gasket lab, which is pretty cool, the tooling room. So we're going to put a video together on our social media accounts on YouTube. Alford, at Rep Alford is our YouTube account, our X account, and our Facebook account, at Rep Alford. So be on the lookout for that, for a behind-the-scenes look. We're also going to tell you about our visit to Lebanon now. We went to Route 66 Museum. I don't know if you knew that there was a Route 66 museum, but you know, Route 66 runs right through our district in the southern part of it. And it's having an anniversary this year, I believe the 100th anniversary of Route 66. There's going to be lots of celebrations for that. It's actually next year, the 100th anniversary. Several states are going to be involved in this, but we have a museum in our district in Lebanon, Laclede County, set up entirely for the history lesson of Route 66 and really how it changed the interior of America, the contributions it played to our businesses and our communities. And we got a tour from Mark Spangler. He's the former museum curator. He took us through the recreations of classic 1950s spots along the way. So this was a pretty cool glimpse into our history and the progression of Route 66. And now, of course, it's I-44 that runs pretty much parallel along there in the southern part of Missouri. But it's an incredible story. And if you want to see some of this, see our actual tour, you can once again go to our social media channels and you can see the video. It's pretty incredible, this video. And if you ever get down to Lebanon, Missouri, which I encourage you to do, stop by the Route 66 Museum. You will not be disappointed. Folks, those are just some of the amazing spots that we have the honor of representing in Missouri's 4th. You know, we're coming up on our 100th publicly advertised event where constituents can come and talk with us about their ideas, their questions. Soon, we're going to have our 100th event since the 2.5 years that we've been in Congress, and we want to invite you to join in. So be on the lookout on our website, on our social media channels, our accounts, and our newsletter for the details of our upcoming town hall tour that we're going to have in August. A lot of you have been asking, are you going to have town hall tours? We always do them in August. I'll say that one more time for those of you who have not been listening or can't comprehend it. We do our in-person town hall tours in August. We made 16 stops last August. We'll probably have that many again, a good chance to have respectful dialogue, as we might say. So follow us on social media at Rep. Mark Alford and subscribe to our newsletter on our website, alford.house.gov. Speaking of that, I want to go back and tell you about one event that we had at a coffee shop. A lady was waiting outside with a protest sign, and I wanted her to come inside, and she was the lone protester at our in-person event that we had at this one particular place. I went outside and got her and brought her in. She was surprised that I did that, but I wanted to hear her voice. She sat down at our table with about 6 other people. 4 of them really did not agree with me or my positions on what's going on with Doge and Elon Musk and the tariffs and the deportation of our illegal aliens in our great nation. But we just sat down and talked about it. And at the end of it, I asked them, we didn't agree on everything, but one of them was actually at our Belton event that we had last month, where there was just a bunch of screaming and shouting by some of the organized disruptors and others who were there, and no one really listened to my answers. But this was a real conversation, and they said that they much more preferred that type of venue where we can actually sit and discuss and exchange ideas. Those are some of the valuable things that we get out of these in-person visits. Also want to remind you about our services that our office can provide for you, our constituents. If you ever need help with the federal government, our team's here to help you out. Just last week, we were able to return more than $130,000 back to you. That is huge. This is federal money. Well, it's your money, actually, but the federal government has been holding on to it. One young lady reached out to our office. She could not get in contact with the Aim High Flight Academy. That's a scholarship for an introductory flight program. She really wants to apply to the Air Force Academy, so she thought by going through this flight academy that would help her. Our office got on it. We were able to bridge that miscommunication gap. We contacted the Air Force. The issue is now resolved. She was able to accept her spot in the program, and we're looking forward now to seeing her apply to the Academy, the Air Force Academy, in her senior year of high school. So watch out for her name. We certainly will be. We also had a man named Mr. Huffaker. He contacted our office about an issue that he'd been having, not getting his deceased father's life insurance policy through the Veterans Administration. Well, he came in. Our caseworker personally met with him. We got in touch with the VA. And now he has that payment. And folks, this is not a small amount. It's $33,000. So we're always excited to be able to help folks like that get that money back that is rightfully yours. We can help you. We are here working for you. If you want to know where our offices are, go to alford.house.gov. Again, that's alford.house.gov. You can also sign up for our newsletter. Thanks for listening to our recap. It's an honor of a lifetime to be here in Missouri's 4th Congressional District, talking with you folks, listening to your concerns, and taking your voice and your vote back to Washington. We'll be back next week. Until then, remember, I believe in America. I believe in you. And most importantly, I believe that our greatest days are still ahead. Good day, and God bless.